Hello once again, and welcome to the Destiny 5 Experience audiobook. This is Volume 2, where we will discuss the Origins phase, and we will also cover days 1 through 7 on your 60-day quest. Once again, my name is Michael Schumann, and I am the author of the Destiny 5 Experience, as well as your humble host for these 10 volumes of the Destiny 5 Experience 60-day quest. First of all, let me offer my sincerest congratulations on taking a step forward and making a decision to come on this quest with us. We're going to have a lot of fun today as we discuss the Origins phase. Now, what is the Origins phase? Well, we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But before we do, I'd like to recap what we had learned in Volume 1 and all of the 9 phases. Are you ready? Well, let's take a little bit of a... Okay, so let's take a look at our notes from Volume 1 and recap the 9 phases of the hero's journey that we went over. Now, if you remember, Phase 1 is what's known as the Origin phase, which is what this volume will address. We will be going through days 1 through 7 of your quest, and we will be dealing with kind of like that childlike excitement that comes when you first begin a quest. And this is very important because this is your fuel. This is where you're going to go for inspiration. And it's also where you're going to learn to develop your creativity, because that's very important. When you're going after something that stretches you, something that challenges you, something that's beyond where you are right now, it might test your creativity. So in this week's exercises, as we go through days 1 through 7, you're going to participate in some activities that's going to stretch you creatively and also enhance your communication skills. But what it's also going to do is it's going to get you very honest about the why you want your quest, the why you want your goal. Because the deeper you get with the why, the more compelling it will be, and the more it will sustain you through the entire 60 days. So today we're laying quite the foundation. Moving on in our brief recap, Phase 2, which is days 8 through 15, is the shadow phase. This is usually where you hit your first roadblock, and this is also where you'll be tempted to quit. So stay with us through the next week because we will help you get over that first hump when we get to Volume 3, the shadow. Coming up ahead in Volume 4 is the Helping Hands, which will help you to develop your resources, your support system, and also help you to find your guidance. This will be necessary because nobody ever succeeds alone, and you will seek help, and that will be there for you. Now, Volume 4 will take place over days 16 through 23. And to recap what you learned in Volume 1, in Act 1, we deal with a phase that's known as unconscious incompetence. This is where it will be fun because, in a way, you're kind of emerging in your consciousness. You're not quite sure what to expect yet, but you'll be playing these games, you'll be having a lot of fun, and are none the wiser for what's ahead of you. Not to scare you, but I want to let you know that this is what this program is all about. I'm here to be with you every step of the way and help you through all the challenging times ahead. In Act 1, we're going to deal a lot with the intellect. We're going to be dealing a lot with your mental world. This is where you create what you want in the next 60 days. And again, it will be a lot of fun. It'll be very creative. And we're also going to go a little bit deeper with your shadow. But this is, again, dealing with your intellectual world, your mental world. And then we go into Act 2, which is going to be your emotional world. Now, in the emotional world of Act 2, after you asked for what you want from life in the first act, in the second act, your belief is going to be tested. Everything about what you know about yourself and your world is going to be tested, and your belief systems are going to come to the forefront. This is going to be the most challenging part of the quest for you emotionally. If you remember from Volume 1, Act 2 is also the phase that I call conscious incompetence, which is going to be very challenging because when you first take up a sport or a new skill, and after you've taken it for quite a while, you start to realize how much further you really need to go in order to master this. And you start to feel insecure. You start to feel a little bit hopeless, and that is because you are now consciously aware of your incompetence. So this is what we're going to deal with in Act 2 when we get to Volumes 5, 6, and 7. Now, around days 24 to 31, you'll be going through a phase that I call the desert. And this is where your resolve is going to be tested. This is where you're going to be asked to develop the emotional, habitual skills that will get you through the rest of the quest. So that will be in Volume 5. It's called Deserts. And again, we're working on that emotional world when we get to that point. Volume 6, which will happen around day 30 or 31, and conclude around day 37, deals with what I call the plot twist. And this is where you're going to go through a metamorphosis. You're going to go through a change where what you think of yourself or what you think of the world is not quite what you thought it was. And your ideas are going to be turned upside down. Sometimes this is a moment of catharsis, and it's an extreme revelation sometimes. So that's why we call it the plot twist, and that is the halfway point on our journey. Then, around day 38 to 44, you're going to go through Volume 6, which is the Dark Night of the Soul. And this is where sometimes you're going to be asked to really deal with the changes you're going through. You might have to meet some of your deepest fears, but we will be there with you every step of the way. I will be there to give you some exercises, to give you some activities, and give you a psychological center that will help you when you're going through that belly of the whale, or what's also known as the dark. After you get through those 3 phases, you have officially completed Act 2. And again, Act 2 consists of the desert, the plot twist, and the dark night of the soul. This is where you will emotionally master your belief system so that you can go on to the Act 3 portion of our program. Then when you finally reach Act 3, you've reached what I call the receiving phase in this entire program. If in Act 1 you deal with your mental world and you ask for what you want, then in Act 2 you deal with your emotional world and you start to believe what you want. In Act 3, you start to receive what you want and you start to receive it in the material world. So you will have something that is measurable, that is tangible, and something that is brought into physical reality. And again, that is Act 3 of this program. So Act 3 will start around day 45, 46, where you go through the 7th phase of this journey, which is covered in Volume 8. That is called the Sacramentor. Again, that is a word of my own creation that combines the word sacrifice and mentor into one word, the Sacramentor. In traditional mythology, this is represented by the old man who sacrifices himself for you to teach you about your own inner wisdom. This is where the outer wisdom becomes inner and you become your own guru, your own. In that phase, you will receive your psychological center and you will be confident as you move forward towards your climax. And that is phase 8 in this hero's journey, which will be addressed in Volume 9. And that is called the climax. This is where you meet your destiny, you seize your boon, you seize your reward in a moment of truth. So the heightened emotions will be very potent at that point, and you should experience that climactic phase around days 52 to 57 or 58, as the 60-day quest is almost at its conclusion. Then the 9th and final phase is called Destiny, and that's where you kind of take stock of who you are now after going on this quest and look back throughout the entire quest and realize who you are in relation to who you were when you began this. This is a time for letting go. This is a time for creating a new quest. And this is a time for mastery. This is a time to recognize and realize that you have gone through an amazing journey and an amazing quest. And because you have gone through that phenomenal experience, you will be able to tap into any one of those 9 phases at will when you need them as you go forward in life. That's mastery, and that's the 9th phase, and you will experience that around day 60 and beyond. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to address the Origins phase. This is Volume 2, Origins.